I just want to welcome everybody. It's so good to see all your faces. It's always these webinar things are so fun for me because I just like get to see all these folks that some are familiar and I see them all the time, and others are like I haven't seen in years sometimes, and it's just always so fun for me. So thanks for joining us this afternoon. It is afternoon here in Vermont, and just so you know, it snowed all day yesterday. So but we're adapting, we're just rolling with it here. So I want you to know that we're going to talk a little bit about going deeper and doing some more in-depth work with me. If you're interested, we're going to talk about that at the end. So if you want to hear about that, then just stick around, don't leave, and we'll have time to share about that. So I just wanted to let you know that. And so I am going to do something I've never done before. Those of you who know me, means that could, who knows how it'll go. But I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and then I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to go like that. I pushed all the right buttons, and then I'm going to go like that. All right. Whew, wait a minute. That's not the right one. There we go. Okay, so this is what's new, is that I've never done one of these before, and I just learned how to put together slides, and so we're gonna have some nice images here to be working with. So I want to start. Here's the web of life, of course, and we know that we're all connected into this web, and each one of these little strands is one more thread of life that makes this incredible web. And so we are so lucky to be a part of this web. Okay, now hang on. That was supposed to make it go. Oh, wait, maybe if I go up there. Okay, hang on. Somehow, okay, Frida, how come it's not going forward to the next? Oh, there it goes. There we go. Okay, good. I think I know how to do it now. So, connection with nature, being of nature, is a human birthright upon which all other rights depend. So I want you to take this one in a bit, because this is a lot about what I want to share with you, is that we are of nature. We are nature. We are a part of nature. And it's just so important for us to kind of wrap our heads around that we are not separate. We are not above, we're not below, we're not, the crown of creation, we're not greater than, but we are a part of nature, and we need to really take up our rightful place within nature. So this is super important message that I want to bring to you today. I'm not sure why this is not. Okay, so I'm going to try to, oops, sorry. I'm just learning how to do this, but these slides. Okay, so biophilia. Let's talk about what biophilia is. It's basically the word biophilia means deep love for nature. And here you can see me, I'm with my beloved bloodroot, laying in a little pile of bloodroot, which I just harvested bloodroot because it's blooming about 2 weeks early this year. So it's almost past bloom at this point. So this is a plant that I just want to share with you, because this is one that I'm just so deeply in love with, that you can kind of see in this picture that I've just already gone into like a trance with this plant. So biophilia, let's talk about that a little bit. About this is this love for nature that comes from our symbiotic relationship with nature and our very long and close association with nature. So we've evolved like the first human, not not Homo sapiens sapien, not our species, but the first human was about 2.5 million years ago. So we've been evolving with nature for that long. And basically nature has provided our species with everything we need to survive and to thrive. So now there's a hypothesis put out by a man by the name of Edmund Wilson. He's an etymologist, he's a bug guy. And this hypothesis proposes that we are genetically programmed to need, I'll use the word need. We need affiliation with nature. So this is way more than just like a pastime or a luxury or something like that. It's an actual necessity that we are in affiliation. So, and what happens when you have this kind of bond where we actually need to be near nature because it's what gives us our life. It's what sustains us. It's what gives us our life. And that there's an emotional bond that with nature that it's very similar to like the bond we have with our mother, thus Mother Nature, that expression that we use. It's true. It's like our mother. And so this whole relationship with mother, or this relationship with nature, during these modern times, it's kind of created this underlying stress because of the disconnect that's happened for humans from this life-giving nature. And so this disconnect is making us sick. And actually, I would take it a little further than that. I would say it's actually killing us. And so, you know, the whole notion that if mother's well, so here's the extension in our symbiotic relationship here, is that if mother's well, then most likely, if mother's not well, let's put it that way, if mother's not well, then most likely we're not well either. So just to kind of wrap your head around this one, that I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. I guess all I need to do is click that. Okay. So here's also reciprocally on the other side, nature really loves us. And so this is something to really be aware of also, is that it's not just a one-way street. This is a two-way. This is a relationship which builds into a partnership when we bring it into conscious awareness. So nature loves us as well. And what I find, especially with the plants, because you all know I'm a plant person, is that nature doesn't let you down. Plants, trees, nature does not let you down. It's like nature's got your back, because that's part of what nature's job is to be here to help us live and to survive and to thrive. So yeah. Oh, goody. Now I've figured out how to progress the pictures. So here we have sitting with a plant, looks like a holly bush. And what I want to go through with you is like, what is it that we already have that's part of our makeup that helps us to be in relationship? So one of the easiest to work with really is our breath. That is something that we don't have to work at breath. We breathe every minute of every second of every hour of every day. We breathe, and we exchange breath with the green world. So with the plants and with the trees, and of course, sea vegetables would be included in this as well. And so, so here she is breathing out carbon dioxide, and she's breathing in oxygen. And the plant is breathing out oxygen and in carbon dioxide. So there is a literal exchange of breath going on here. And so this is something that is so simple and is so daily and is so much a part of our makeup that you'd say, well, that's really mundane. And yet, when you bring it into conscious awareness, when you bring it up a few notches into like you're consciously breathing with the green world, it changes everything. And it turns it into like, the mundane becomes magical. And so here she's having a magic moment breathing with this plant. The other thing that we have that nature does not have, and the plants and the trees don't have, spirit does not have, is hands with opposable thumbs. And so this is one of our unique gifts. This is what makes us different from other aspects of nature, is that we have these beautiful hands. And with these hands, we can make beauty, we can create with these hands, we can make beauty, we can take action with these hands. We can also communicate with these hands. And so some of you might know that in the palms of your hands, you see those drawings and stuff from India with pictures of eyeballs, like an eye in the middle of your hand. It's actually a minor chakra in the palms of your hands, but your hands are a way that you communicate, is through your hands. And so just to keep that in mind as you're working with nature, is always put your hands on whatever it is that you're working with. If you're working with plants, if you're working with stones, if you're working with water, whatever it might be, you can work with your hands to communicate. So our hands can take action. So here when we're in this partnership with nature, sometimes we have to do things to really help out and to be good stewards. We might need to plant trees, or we might need to work with a water course, or we might have to shift something in our woodland area, or we might need to work with our soil. And so our hands can take action. So this is a very big gift that we have, that's just part of our makeup, that can bring us into this amazing partnership with nature. And here is, this is my little granddaughter. This is my husband's son's daughter. And her name is Ariana. She's older now, but not too much older, but here she and I are digging potatoes in the garden. And so again, our hands make a garden, our hands plant the seeds, our hands work the soil, our hands harvest the plants. So gardening to me is one of the most amazing things that you can possibly do in nature, is to create a garden and feed yourself. It's so empowering. Then there's our hearts. And our hearts are so important because our hearts are the primary organ of perception, and which literally they're primary, meaning that, your heart is beating in your fetal development, your heart is beating before your brain even starts to develop. So our hearts are primary. And so they do all the perceiving. And they're the ones that, all those touches from nature, they receive your heart receives all those touches. And then your heart, ideally, your heart is in coherence. And you want to be in a coherent heart rate variability, it's called. And that's how they measure heart health these days. And your heart then sends and trains with the brain and sends these messages to your brain. And then your brain says, oh, that's the decision you've made. Oh, okay. All right, I can do that. I'll carry out that decision. So the heart and the brain work together. And ideally, your heart is the one sitting on the throne. Your heart is the one doing all the perceiving. Your heart is the one making all the decisions. And then your brain helps carry out those decisions. So, but our heart is something that we have, and there's how we are in heart coherence is we give positive impulses to the heart. And so heart entrainment, she is here You'll notice this over here on the left side, there's that little yellow ball of light. And so oftentimes you'll see in photos where people are communing with nature, you'll see they call them orbs now. But you'll see these little blips of light. Ever since we started doing digital photography, the digital photography has made it possible to be able to see. Oftentimes it shows up in the pictures. And so when you are giving positive impulses to the heart, which gratitude is a big one. And we'll mention gratitude. There's others, there's forgiveness, there's innocent perception, there's care, but gratitude is a big one because it's relatively easy to do. And and we're talking about being in the state of gratitude. So it's not about thinking about gratitude, but it's actually being in the state of gratitude. And so here is this lovely young woman she's communing in nature. She's working through her heart. She's in training. There's entrainment going on. And entrainment means it literally what it means is it means draw to you. And so the heart is actually drawing into its energy field. It's drawing in the tree. It's drawing in the green beings. It's drawing in their vibratory resonance into the field of the heart. That's what entrainment is. So entrainment, you can entrain with the brain. It draws the brain into the heart's field. And then there's this lovely communication that takes place. There's this whole synchronization that happens between the heart and the brain, but it also can happen externally as well. So you can have a heart entrainment with nature. So that's what's happening here. And one of the easy ways to get into heart coherence so that you can go into entrainment is with gratitude. So being in a state of gratitude. And I would say that we all have something to be grateful for, either the lovely food on our table or the lovely place where we live or our lovely grandchildren or children or our partner or whatever. There is something to be grateful for. And I know you're all going to say to me, well, there's a whole bunch to not be grateful for these days. Well, yeah, although the situation that we have found ourselves in the last year, there's been some things that have come from that I'm actually grateful for, like that the air is a bit cleaner than it has been in a while. That's something to be grateful for. So heart entrainment, being in gratitude. And one of the ways that we can kind of gauge our communicating through the heart and kind of the sharing that goes on is the ping thud method. My dear friend Kate Gilday, who might be here. I didn't see her name pop up, but that doesn't mean she's not here today or won't listen to the replay. She taught me this, and it's you go into your heart, and it's like maybe you have a question or you're in a situation where you need to kind of understand what to do, and you go in, and it's like, does your heart go ping or does your heart go thud? So it's the ping thud method, and it's quite simple. Really what it is it's like, does it give you energy? Does it ping? Does it give you energy? Or does it drain your energy? So that's just a really easy, quick little way for you to tune into whether, this is something for you or not for you, is pay attention to your heart. Does it ping or does it thud? So, okay, let's see, what else do we have? All right. So now one more thing that we just inherently have that is part of our makeup is our senses. So we've got these lovely 5 senses. We've got our eyesight, we've got smell, we've got touch, we've got taste, and we've got hearing. And through this sensory awareness, there's so much connection that we can make with nature. It's actually, our senses are the way that we exchange with our ecology, with our environment, is through our central awareness. So we want to be paying attention to those senses. And so our eyesight, for those of us who have eyesight still, and that's one of the big ways that we really connect with nature. And so we want to not only, it's not just looking kind of is on that surface level, but we want to really see, we want to go deeply in. So here we want deep observation. So deeply seeing what's happening in nature. And, you've got the big picture that you can see, and then there's the tiny, you can see the minute. And so that's why I encourage people to carry around a handheld lens of about 10x magnification. So you can look at closely, you can look at the little veins of the plants, or you can look at the water and how it's got these tiny little bubbles that have all these colors in it. And you can see the rainbows in the bubbles in the water and all of that. So deep observation, deeply observing, deeply seeing what's there. And then we also want to be listening to nature and hearing what nature has to say. And it's not just the sounds of nature, although it is the sounds of the birds, and it is the sound of the water and the sound of the wind in the trees. Yes, it's all that, but it's also what is, here in this place of listening is where you can tap into your intuition. And your intuition, it's not that you don't have intuition, it's that you're not listening to your intuition. So listening is one of those senses that we really want to work to develop. I just read a study, like in the last couple of days, that's I'm not quite remembering who did it, but it was like, oh, we have done research and found that if you listen to birdsong and you listen to water, you'll be healthier. And I was like, duh, really? I could have told you that. So it was kind of like, oh, and well, the good news about that research is like the science and the kind of the powers that be are finally like saying, oh, maybe we do need to be connected to nature in order to be healthy. Oh, maybe that would be a good idea. So I'm happy that I'm hearing this kind of research, even though it's kind of like, what Frida and I were talking the other day. What was that, Frida, that you called it? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
What's it called?
We call it a thank you, Captain Obvious moment.
Thank you, Captain Obvious moment. Yes. Thank you, Captain Obvious. So anyway, but it's okay because, this is what we're doing. This is what we're all doing is we're helping to help people understand about this, making this deep connection with nature. Okay. And then we have the sensory sense of touch. And here we're moving through the lavender fields. And so in this, we not only get the amazing feel of the lavender, but then we get the scent of the lavender as well. So touching. And there's all kinds of touching as that can tell you parts of information about the plants and the trees as well, and about the water and the soil. I love putting my hands in the soil. It's one of my most favorite things to do. And, I don't really wear gloves unless I really, really have to. But once spring comes, it's like, it's almost impossible to get your fingernails clean because they're always in the soil. Oh, you can, it's almost melted, but you can see, we took this picture this morning. You can see the snow in the background a little bit. Yesterday, everything was completely covered. So, and then there's taste. So I'm tasting a dandelion leaf here. So, and when we're talking about tasting plants or tasting water or tasting any of that, that's what we mean. Tasting means taste. It doesn't mean eat. It means taste. But you'll learn so much by being able to taste. And then there's smell. And smell is that lovely sense of what smell does that's so wonderful is it really puts us in touch with our hindbrain. And our hindbrain is where a lot of ancestral memory is held. So you will find that certain smells will bring up memories that are not something that's from current times. So that's a wonderful part of that sense. Okay. All right. So now we have, this is another thing that's part of our makeup. And I'm starting to call them the wow moments. Wow, meaning wide open to wonder. Wow, wide open to wonder. And these wow moments are when we're in our heart, we're in gratitude, we're in coherent heart rate variability, we're in entrainment, we're already there in that space. Our hearts are just totally connected in. And what happens when we're there is there's a hormone called oxytocin, which gets released. It gets released from the heart, it gets released from the hypothalamus, and this is the bonding hormone. And it's literally what helps us make the connection. It is the hormone that helps us make the connection. Most of the research with oxytocin has been done with the mother-child relationship, because that's your first bonding experience is at birth. And oxytocin gets released at peak moments. So birth, death, orgasm, moments like what this fellow is experiencing, sitting way up high, like taking in this expanse of this amazing rock formations and this amazing water. And I'm imagining that he's going, it's just like taking his breath away because it's so amazing. And so this is a peak experience. This is a peak moment where oxytocin gets released and it goes through your bloodstream. The receptors uptake the oxytocin, bonding happens, and it initiates what's called the restorative response. Just like it sounds, restoration. It brings you back to the balance point, back to restoration. Very different than cortisol, which is the stress response. And nowadays, I would say that a lot of us might be operating on stress response 24/7, which is not okay. It's okay once in a while. It's okay when you have to run from the saber-toothed tiger, or, you see that little light going off in your rear view mirror and you go, oh my gosh, you got that fight or flight feeling. And so really the best thing to do is get out of your car, although you got to wait for the guy to ask you to step out of your car, but then walk around and use up that adrenaline that's rushing through your veins. That's the problem with stress response, is using the adrenaline instead of letting it fatigue your adrenal glands. Anyway, that's a whole nother kind of long discussion. But the point here is that we want to make the switch from here's another wow moment. We want to make the switch from stress response to restorative response. And oxytocin is the one that's going to help us to do that. Okay, so these are the magic moments here. These moments when we just are just in that peak experience of in awe of nature and our connection to it. Now, here's a magic moment that you might say, what the heck is that? This is a woman swimming, or she kind of looks like she's floating actually, in water that is full of bioluminescence. It's an algae that is bioluminescent. And there happens to be a huge bay in a place called Vieques, Puerto Rico. It's a small little island off the east coast of mainland Puerto Rico. And there's this bioluminescent bay. And it used to be in the old days, I've been there many, many, many times. And it used to be in the old days, you could actually swim in it. Nowadays, they don't let people swim in it so much anymore, but you can go out in a glass bottom kayak at night on a new moon when the sky is really dark. And this luminescence, every movement makes light. And so you can see the fish darting, and you can, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Oh, I should mention goosebumps. goosebumps, bonding bumps. Somebody just said recently, oh, those are is that a signal that oxytocin is getting released? I would say, yeah, probably. But anyway, this is one of the most magical moments you could ever have in your life, is to swim or be in bioluminescence, because everything is light. You're surrounded in light. You move any movement of your body is light. You get out of the water and your body is covered in these like little sparkles, and they're just like this bioluminescent algae is what it is. And she's holding in her hand, she has a little bit of water that's got this bioluminescence in it. So this picture is for real. This is not a Photoshop. This is for real. So this is one of those moments in nature that you just, it is pure magic. Okay, so here we have another aspect. Now we're going to move on from what you inherently have as part of your makeup. You know, you've got your breath, you've got your hands, you've got your heart, you've got your senses, and you've got oxytocin. That's a given. You've got that. It's not going anywhere. It's part of who you are. Now we want to start looking at, you know, how are we going to be building our relationship, a relationship that already exists. You are in relationship with nature, with plants, with trees, with water. You already are in relationship. I mean, the mere fact that you breathe means you're in relationship with the natural world. And for me, you know, plants and trees are a big part of it. They make up 99% of all living organisms on the planet. So they make up a huge chunk of what we would call nature, is plants and trees. So one of the things that we really want to be looking at here is our time that we spend in nature. And we want that time, and I know that's been one of the issues that always comes up, is when we're talking about this. It's like, oh, I don't have any time. I don't have time to go outside. I don't have time to take a walk. I don't have time to go swim in the lake or stick my feet in the stream, or I don't have time to walk up the stream, or I don't have whatever it might be. I don't really have time for it because I've got to do this list. And I want to say to you that it doesn't necessarily have to be quantity, although there are some good aspects of spending quantity time in nature, but it really needs to be quality. So if you have 5 quality moments in nature, that's better than an hour of, you know, being in nature and at the same time trying to balance your checkbook in your head. That's not quality time if you're not being present. So it has to do with being present. Now, this little child is having one of the most quality moments in nature, with her camel having a quality moment too. So, joyful encounter in nature. One of the best ways that you can move into a wonderful experience. So here, just again, being on the lake at sunset, experience just being fully present with nature. Here we have, so here I would like to talk about quantity, the quantity piece, which is that my experience has been, and this gets into like being with the wild and how the tendency is for us to be like a little overly domesticated these days. And, you know, we spend time, or, you know, even if we live in an area where there's amazing land, and I live in an area where there's 10,000 acres there's no people on them. It's out my back door. So I have the great fortune to live in an area where there's lots of land around me that's not developed. However, I want you to know that the majority of my time is spent right around my house, because this is where my gardens are. This is where I might be harvesting herbs. And so I have found that when I really go into nature, so like maybe we might go camping and we might have to paddle in our canoes for 8 hours to get to our campsite, something like that. So when we go, we're out there, and it takes me 2 days usually. it takes 2 days to kind of like drop it down a few notches and not be in this kind of hyper state. And there's something about this modern world that we live in, and it could be all these devices that we find ourselves on these days. And here we are on a computer, but this is what we've got right now. So I don't want to encourage people to be on a computer anymore than they have to, but this is how we're able to be with each other and communicate right now. So, but if you do get an opportunity and you do have a little stretch of time on your hands, I would really encourage you to find a place in nature that you can be, where you can just be, and you can be really present in this natural world. And like I said, for me, it takes me about 2 days to calm down. And then I start to just meld right in. And and so I look at this young man sitting with the fire, and I feel like, he's dropping it down a few notches, and he's being able to have a deeper encounter. Maybe he's only been there for an hour. I don't know, but I just want to suggest that there's nothing wrong with quantity time as well as quality time. You can do both of them. So, all right. So then let's see. Oh, this is my grandson, by the way, my little grandson, and with his dad, and his name is Marlo. Is the love of my life. And his grandparents, Derek's parents, have a place on this Lake Pleasant in New Hampshire. And so it's a wonderful lake house that we get to go to in the summertime. So these kinds of experiences with your children or your grandchildren are invaluable. And I'm sure many of you might already know about nature deficit disorder, which is already become kind of a condition that children are not spending enough time in nature and way too much time on their devices. So I just want to bring this forward to encourage you to have your experiences in nature, but also to bring your children and your grandchildren, or maybe get together with other family members or friends and spend time in nature together, because those experiences are the ones that stick with you and stay with you, and they really shape our lives. This is the stream that runs down off the mountain where I live, and I spend a lot of time in this spot along the stream. And this is where I get my quality time, is next to the stream, because it's, the forest here is, like I said, there's no other people in it, just animals. And so it's a great place to be able to go and have super quality time. Okay. So now there's this aspect of I'm going to say daily ritual, or daily practice, or daily being in gratitude on a daily basis. And when I say ritual, the difference between ritual and ceremony is that ritual is something that you do regularly, and it's usually the same each time. It doesn't change a lot. So the 2 times that I have found that really work for me for daily ritual is greeting the sun in the morning, which is what's happening here, greeting the sun. And then, oops. Okay. Well, we're going to go, we'll talk about this one, and then we'll go to the next one, which is greeting the sunset. But so daily practice with nature. And that's what we're talking about here, is having something that you do every single day. And it could be incorporating a yoga practice with nature. It could be incorporating a movement meditation. We do one called the 7-direction movement meditation that we do outdoors, which is a practice that you can do on a daily basis, but it connects you in with nature. There we go. Oh, that's okay. That's the water one. But this is a sunset picture as well. And so here, giving blessings. If you live near the ocean, then it's also a great thing to do every day, to be able to bless the waters and have the waters bless you. There we go. That was the one I was looking for. Gratitude for the gift of the day. So here we are at sunset. The sliver moon is rising and the sun is setting, and we are just so grateful for the day. So every day having something small, and it doesn't have to take a long time. It can take, a couple minutes. And maybe your daily practice or your daily ritual is that you step out your door at sunrise or at some point during the day, and you take 2 minutes to breathe with the plants or breathe with the trees. Maybe that's your ritual, daily ritual. But this is a way to move into that space of partnership. You're not just in relationship, you're now moving into conscious awareness where you consciously connect with this great nature that's all around you. Okay, so now a big part of partnership, being in a co-creative partnership with nature, is, there's many aspects to co-creative partnership. And one of the things of going deeper in studying more in depth with me we will go into all the aspects of co-creative partnership. This particular one is about communication. Communication is super important because as you know, in any relationship that you want to be in a good partnership in that relationship with people is, for example, is that you need to be in good communication. Otherwise, it doesn't really work if you're not in good communication. So in communicating with nature, the language is a little different. It's not necessarily, although it could be, but it's not necessarily with these words that we speak to each other, these sounds that we make that come out of our mouth. There is sound, and there is light, and there is vibratory resonance. And there are many forms of communication. And the big one here is vibratory resonance. And when I say vibratory resonance, everything in nature has a resonance and a frequency. And so that our bodies can feel as a sensation, a felt sensation, not an emotion, a sensation. So it's a vibratory resonance. So this tree has a resonance that she is tapping into, and she can feel it in her body. And so when she identifies what that resonance is in her body, she can come back to this tree, or not even have to be in the presence of the tree, but she can call that up again and be there in connection with that tree, this vibratory resonance. When working with trees, there's a few different things. You can put your back up against the tree, your spine, your forehead, which is what she's doing, or your belly. Those are and she's got her hands too. You can see that we talked about that communication coming through her hand. So she's got her hands with her forehead. So here we have communicating through the unified field, or I'm going to call it the unified field, but it's through the ethers. It's through, the electromagnetic fields, whatever you want to call it. That which is a part of all of life and is everywhere. Some would talk about the morphic resonance. Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphic resonance. The point here is that animals, plants, trees, water, even stones have a vibratory resonance, which means they are a part of the electromagnetic field. They're a part of the field. And soil, all of it is part of this field that we are connected in. The very first picture that we saw was the web, the cobweb, the spider web, and all the connection. All those threads are what connects us within the unified field. So here, Now you have to look at this photo and say to yourself, wow, is that these dolphins are swimming with this woman on her surfboard. She's on her surfboard. She's about ready to surf that wave. And here's these dolphins swimming with her. And so, you have to say, how did they know that she was there? And what is attracting them to her? And so just to kind of keep that in our mind is that we are all connected through this unified field. We're all a part of the web, and that web is connected. And we can communicate through the web. Okay, so here we have, this is the stream that runs behind my house down off the mountain. It's a lovely mountain stream. And sound. So the two foundational ways in which we communicate in the natural world, in the biological world, is light and sound, which both have vibratory resonance, that have a frequency that vibrate. So sound, as we talked about that already, sound, all kinds of sounds in nature. There's also sound that's outside of the spectrum of what we can hear with our ears. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So there's the kind of the song of the I call this the song of the stream, but there's kind of the song of the universe, or the song of that great unified field that we were just talking about. There is sound within it. And again, those magic moments happen sometimes with when you really bring it all into conscious awareness and you tune into it. There was a lovely teacher of mine, Rocio Alacarn, who's from Ecuador, and she was here one time. And this is kind of a long story, but I'll keep it a little bit short. We were at the stream, and she was working with us with a water aspect. It's called a puyo, which is a water portal that kind of the water goes down into this hole. And so anyway, she was talking to us about this portal, and we were making offerings to this water course. And so we had done that, and we had just finished with a class. She had just taught a class here, and I finished giving my offering, and then I stood back, and then I let Mark, my husband, and she do their offerings. And I heard this amazing singing. And it was just like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I was like, oh, isn't that sweet? There's people from the class. They're in the field over across the way. And oh, they're over there singing. Isn't that nice? That's so sweet, And she saw me like looking around, and she saw me like listening. And she said, oh, you hear that? And I said, yeah, I do. I do hear that. And she said, the spirits of the forest are very happy with us. That's going to make me cry talking about it. It was just kind of like, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. So it was like, those aren't people over there singing. That's the forest singing and making this incredible sound. And so just to say that this sound is around us all over the place. And we just, again, need to bring it into that conscious awareness level. And if you can't hear it with these ears, even though sometimes we can hear it with these ears, sometimes we have that great fortune, like that time in our woods that I heard that. But sometimes if you can't hear it with these ears, then you can hear it inside. So you listen for the sound internally. And that is a form of communication. It's a foundational form of communication. Then there's light. And so light, there's light, again, we see within a narrow band of the spectrum, which is the rainbow colors from red to purple. That's what our eyeballs see. But there's lots of light on the other ends of the spectrum that we don't see, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that we can't sense the vibratory resonance of it. So light is super important. Light and sound, both are super important, and the vibrations that they carry. I happen to really love light on water. It's one of my most favorite things. And so I'd love to go to lakes. And this happens to be on that same island, Vieques, in Vieques, Puerto Rico. Thus the gorgeous aqua color of the Caribbean. But you can see the patterns that the light makes on the water. And so here we have folks sitting with the fire, and then there's the starlight above, and there's the light of the fire, and then it ignites that light within us. And so the light within, let's just touch on this here a little bit, which is that there are biophotons, that's what they're called, biophotons, which are particles of light at the nucleus of ours. In all the biological world, there's particles of light at the nucleus of the cells. So we have biophotons, plants and trees have biophotons. And this is one of the ways that we communicate, is that what happens is a coherent beam of light is made between us and the plants or other people, it could be us and other people. And when we make that beam of light, communication takes place. And the other piece here about biophotons is that plants have a greater ability to fine tune to our resonance than we do to them. That's part of what they can do. And so they can fine tune to our biophotons. And we can go back and forth here. We can share. We can go back and forth with these biophotons. The other piece of this, there's fabulous research going on with a biophysicist named Fritz Popp. And what he discovered these biophotons, by the way. And what he's also, the work he's doing is that he has just found that cells that are not healthy, that like cancer cells or whatever kinds of cells we might have in our body that are not healthy, the biophotons, the pattern of the biophotons are not, he calls it the biophotons, the light has gone awry. So the pattern of the light is not healthy. So he's working with certain plants, transmitting the biophotons from this plant to the persons to repattern the light toward health. Now, I call that leading edge. If that's where we can go with medicine, wow. And it's light. And it's a way of communicating via light between our cells and other living cells. So light is just like sound. Sound's important too. And that sound is called biophonons, phonons and photons. So, okay. Here, this is sitting in my backyard where the stream is right in front of us. This is my friend Carol Guyette from Ireland. And we have just finished an Angelica plant initiation where we spent 3 days with a plant and went very deep with it. And this, in that initiation, the photos that were taken afterwards, this kept coming up. This light, exact same pattern. All the photos we took came up with this pattern after we did Angelica. And I was kind of like, what's going on with this light? What is this? And in some of the photos, there's a big beam of light coming down like this, like a white beam of light coming down in some of the photos. And so I was kind of like, I said to Carol, I was kind of like, what's this all about? What's this light? What's this? And it looks like these big wings, it goes out in these big wings. And she was like, oh, well, Angelica Archangel is its Latin name. She said, oh, well, that's Archangel Michael. And I went, what? I mean, angels are cool and I dig angels and I can get with angels, but I can't say that I spend a lot of time with angels or angelic presences. I mean, probably I do. I just wasn't conscious of it until this initiation. And then it was like, oh, Archangel Michael. And the beam of light was the sword of light, he sits at the right hand of God or something like that. And has this sword of light. But all, and so all of these pictures with this light, like these wings were like, anyway, so I just had to show you that one because there's this another incredible light presence that came after the plant initiation with Angelica. And here we have, this, just these trees and just the beautiful light. I just loved this photo, so I wanted to bring it to you. Here now, okay. This is snow. This is wintertime and a big pile of snow, and these light stars were on the snow. My husband took this picture, and he was like, wait till you see this picture. I was like, where did that come from? And it was, it was daytime, So anyway, the whole point here with this light is that light is everywhere, and light carries this frequency that can communicate with our light, our biophotons, our internal light. So anyway, I loved the starlight, which was midday on the snow. Okay, so here we go. This is a for real picture. This is not photoshopped. These are birds flying in the sky. And it was like, when I saw this, I was like, oh gosh, that's great. I should put that up like on my refrigerator. So it's like, don't worry, be happy. Let's all be happy. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this amazing biointelligence that's in nature, and some would call it nature consciousness. And we've been talking about that as we've gone along through these photos. But so this biointelligence that we have comes from this, it's like a living conversation. Here we go. Engaging in a living conversation that doesn't necessarily use words, even though you may hear words inside you, in your heart. It might come across, it might translate into words so that you might be able to understand better. But this living conversation with the natural world is happening all the time, like all the time. We just need to pay attention and be present and bring it into conscious awareness. Bring it up here instead of keeping it in the subconscious. It's always here on a subconscious level. But when we bring it into conscious awareness, when we bring it up into conscious awareness, then we can we can take this already there relationship and move it into a partnership. I love this tree. I love seeing the roots of this tree and the way the light is shining through this tree. I think it is such an incredible, to me, this is like nature consciousness personified, or not personified, but kind of really emanating. Okay, so here we talked about orbs a little bit earlier, and here, if you can barely see in the middle here, right here, here's a person. There's a person right there. And here is this orb right here. Oftentimes with these orbs, they have, if we magnified that a little bit, you would see the texture that's in that orb. It actually has a pattern in it. These other orbs, maybe if we really blew them up, you'd see them. But usually whenever there's orbs in a picture, in a photo, there's at least one of them, if not more, that have this texture in it. That's kind of like, I look at it as like, that's the main kahuna. That's the head dude or dudess. Some might call it the diva of the area. So this to me is all the little spirits of nature and the deva of this woodland area. Okay, so the other thing I want to say is that to let nature nurture us. And we can be nurtured in so many ways. And the water, where I happen to be on the stream right here, right beside me is a spring where the water comes out of the ground and then flows into the stream. And this is the best water in the entire world. And it is just, it's wild water that you can drink straight from the ground. So it's really phenomenal. And so we have these amazing things that come from nature that really nurture us. And so we've got wild water, we've got wild food. And so you saw me eating earlier a dandelion leaf. Dandelions are wild food. You know, we've got violets. Those are wild food. We've got chickweed. That's wild. Nettle is coming up right now near. And then you say, oh, wait a minute, but nettle stings me. Well, yeah, but then you take it and you put it and you steam it up and cook it up and it makes one of the best spring greens you'll ever eat. And it just makes you feel so alive and all your cells are like, yahoo. I just saw a thing on Facebook of a young man harvesting his nettle and he made nettle tortillas. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. Now I'm going to get with that program because that sounds really awesome. Anyway, what I just want to say here is that, you know, we've got these amazing gifts that nature gives, and it's nature's gifts. So one person said, oh, I shouldn't be harvesting things from the wild. Oh, I'm killing it. Well, you know, not really. I mean, you're cutting it maybe to eat, or, you know, maybe you're digging some of the roots and then you replant the crown so it continues to thrive. But what's important to realize is that we all have gifts. We all come in with inherent gifts. Nature's gifts are food and medicine. Those are two big ones, along with oxygen and, you know, quite a few other things. But it's important for you to realize that we are really nourished by nature and optimally nourished. So, and then, you know, we have gifts as well. So we have to really honor and see our inherent gifts, hands being something that's unique to us. We need to remember that, and our big hearts that we can connect in with. So anyway, it's important for us to realize we have gifts to offer, being stewards, caring. That's kind of what our original intention supposedly is here on this planet, is to be stewards in nature and to really help nature thrive as nature helps us thrive. So this is a two-way street. Nature nurtures us. Here's a family enjoying a beautiful picnic in a beautiful landscape. So here, reciprocity. I want to bring in reciprocity. And here is one of the things that we do is that we we call it a spirit plate, but we have a little plate that we put food on that is part of the food that we eat. And then we bring it out into nature and leave the plate there. This happens to be in my sanctuary garden, and we'll leave the plate there. And of course, tomorrow when I go back to get it, it'll all be gone. And you're just going to say, oh, well, some animal came and ate it. Well, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea of reciprocity is giving back. And so there's many ways to be in reciprocity. And one of the things that we do a lot here when we're doing our plant initiations and tree initiations and things like that is we make gifts. We actually make things with our own hands, ideally, and we give that to whatever plant we're working at. It's a gift. And the spirit of the plants and the trees really like that. They like the gifts that we give because they can't make those kind of gifts because they don't have hands, but we do. So we make beauty. We make beauty. We make food. Maybe we sing a song. Maybe we make a beautiful piece of artwork like a painting or something like that we give, but we give back. And so we're in this reciprocal relationship. We're giving back. And here is a kind of another way in which we can engage is this happens to be the labyrinth here at my place. And so I call the labyrinth the living temple. It's like you walk this geometric pattern and shape. And to me, it's like direct access. You know, you have just direct access to the divine, really, the divine in the earth and the divine in the cosmos. And so it's this, again, another living conversation with the divine via the labyrinth. And what you see here is a maple tree, which is our prayer tree, and you see things hanging from it because we make prayers at the prayer tree, and when we're making a prayer, we put something on the tree. The tree is clothed in prayers, and so which are literal gifts that are with this prayer tree. So here we are at the end, which is that we are nature. There's no separation. We are not separate from it. Yes, I know that we have, over the last 200 or 300 years, we've moved away from an agrarian or a land-based culture into cities and become more of a city-based culture. However, we are still part of nature. We are still nature. And it's just that we've fallen into a little bit of amnesia and we've forgotten that we are a part of nature. And so it's so important for us now, as we move into this deeper connection and co-creative partnership, and we realize that the planet does need our stewardship help right now. The planet is suffering. And so as we see the planet suffer, we also see our own suffering. We see how we are becoming ill, and how it's so important that the health of the planet and our own health are integrally connected. And so as we take up our rightful place as a part of nature, our birthright, then we become healthier, and so does the planet. Okay, so that is the end of our there we go. Okay, how are we doing on time? Oh,
We're doing great. Thank you so much, Pam.
okay.
That was perfect.
Okay, so I do want to do a little bit of a meditation with you, if everybody can hang in here a little longer. So let's just take a moment and just settle yourselves down. And you can, again, just a reminder that stick around after this, because we're gonna go into some give you some information about what's coming next. So anyway, just settle yourself, kind of quiet yourself. You might want to close your eyes. And we're just going to take a moment here. And I want you to begin with a nice deep breath. So breathing deeply, connecting into your heart as you breathe. And as you breathe into your heart, I want you to allow yourself to come into a state of gratitude. Remembering that time that you were in gratitude, or what it is that brings you that deep gratitude in your life, and just bring that into your heart, bring it back into your heart, and feel just like how your heart gets so full when you're in this gratitude state. And feel how your heart actually softens when you're in this gratitude place. And I want you to tap into, in this gratitude space, I want you to tap into an aspect of nature that you just love and you feel so connected to. It might be a plant or a tree. It might be water. It might be a mountain. It might be a garden. It might be a landscape. It might be a rock outcrop. It might be the beautiful sun or the beautiful moon, or that wind blowing through the trees. An aspect of nature that you feel particularly connected to, that you say that you could actually say that you really love that aspect of nature. And just be in your heart with this bit of nature. And as you sit in your heart with this bit of nature, I want you to feel within yourself how you are also you are this bit of nature. How you actually carry this nature in you and how you're not separate from it. And as you feel that merge between you and this aspect of nature, allow an image or a word or a feeling just to bubble up from within yourself, which is part of this nature. Let this form of communication, or whatever form of communication it might be, let it bubble up inside you now. And as you let that communication happen, remembering what communication really is. Communication, common union, communion, all from the same word, communication. Find that common union with this nature that you are part of. Let yourself remember who you truly are, which is a part of nature, not separate. Let yourself remember your original brilliance. You are a brilliant being that has light at the nucleus of every single cell in your body. Let yourself in this original brilliance remember that you actually do know how to communicate with the plants and the trees and the water and the soil and the mountain and the moon and the sun and the air and the animals. And in this place of remembrance, perhaps there's something that you can do for this aspect of nature that you've brought forward. Perhaps there's some action you might even take. You're here to share these gifts that you carry, your unique individual gifts. That's why you're here. You're here to share your amazing inherent gifts that you've come in to this incarnation with. You're not here to keep them for yourself or to hoard them. You're here to share them with all other of your relatives, human and non-human. So share your brilliant self. You're here to do that. And you're here during these times. This is not a coincidence that you happen to be here now. You're here to tell a new story, to tell this story, to tell the story of connection with nature, of being a part of nature, of co-creative partnership with nature. And telling this new story shifts the paradigm. Shifts the paradigm into a life-giving story where all of life, the plants, the trees, the animals, all of it, all of nature can thrive. And not only can it thrive, but has a right to thrive. We all have the right to thrive. This is our new story. This is our new paradigm. And if we're not going to tell this story, then who is? If we're not going to do it now, then when? And so take one more nice deep breath, being in deep gratitude for this opportunity to have this experience today, to make this deep connection with nature. And now you can all come back into your space. I just want to remind you that we are going to we're going to take some questions right now. Anybody who has questions, and then after that, we're going to stay on for a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you about an online course that we have coming up on May. It's going to launch between May 1st and May 8th. That week, we'll do the launch for that course, and it's called Co-Creative Partnership with Nature. So anybody who wants to hear about that, we would actually like for you to put it in the chat that you actually would really like to hear about that. But what kind of questions might we have, Frida?
Okay, we've got, we actually had a pretty, well, first I want to say thank you. That meditation was amazing and I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure everybody else did as well. Let's see. So there was a big conversation in the chat around ticks and people wanting, and it came up with multiple people wanting to go out and being like, but I used to roll around in the fields and wander through the forest, but now I either had Lyme or I'm scared of Lyme and the ticks are exploding. And like, how do we navigate that?
Yeah, I know. There are aspects these days in nature that that are disturbing, and that is one of them. Well, first of all, not all ticks have Lyme disease, just to say. So, okay, there's lots of different ways to approach this, and I don't want to sound trite. That's for sure, because Lyme disease is a drag. It's not fun to have Lyme disease. And for those of you who have suffered from the symptoms of Lyme for over the long term, I know that it's a drag. There are things to do. There are herbal protocols for Lyme. Stephen Buhner's got quite a few herbal protocols, which those products can be purchased from Kate Gilday at Woodland Essence. So that's number one. There are herbal protocols out there to deal with that. On the other thing to say here is that ticks are not the enemy. They are a result of exactly what we've been talking about, our disconnect from nature and all that has happened on the planet for over the last stretch of time, ever since probably after World War II, mostly, because that's when the chemical thing really started to happen, was, got all this oil, might as well do something with it. Oh, let's make some chemicals out of it. So once the chemical thing started, the planet has increasingly become polluted, and we've gotten separate from nature. And I would say pretty much across the board, all that we're seeing right now, including this past year, of what we've been going through this past year, is because we have seriously polluted the earth. So, and I know that this is, you're saying, well, that's not a quick answer. Well, in a year's time, the skies in certain areas and the waters in certain areas have become much cleaner because we've stopped doing so much pollution. So, number one, educate yourself about your exposure and how much is going on around you. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I've got this 30-acre field in front of me, which does not belong to us. It belongs to another organization, but there's a farmer who leases this field, and he sprays it, and so I was like, don't think you live in paradise, Pam, because guess what? There's still a lot of work to do, because that field is being sprayed. It's right outside my door. And so you need to educate yourself to find out what's going on, and you need to speak up instead of sit back and be silent and be like, oh, well, oh dear, I can't say anything about him spraying. Oh, yes, I can, especially when it's 2,4-D, which is it's a aspect of Agent Orange. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here. I can see that. Okay, so the point being, number one, there's a reason why we have an abundance of Lyme disease. And it is directly, in my humble opinion, I believe it is directly related to what's going on the planet. So that's number one. We have to change it. And so our work is not done yet. We have to continue to work to change it. Being in relationship with the ticks is another aspect here, because they are a part of nature too. And so, and again, I know what I notice is that they're really attracted to some people and not other people. I'm not saying that I don't get ticks on me, because I do. I don't usually get embedded ticks. I feel them crawling on my leg, and I look down and go, oh, there's a tick crawling on me. Okay, no, it's not okay. You got to go do something else. I believe there's some of you who are more well-versed in this might be able to speak to it, but David Dalton, who is a flower essence practitioner, he also has a whole protocol for Lyme disease. And he talks a lot about the kind of types of persons who have a tendency to get more ticks than others. And so you can work with that aspect through working with flower essences, and even working with homeopathy, which kind of helps you work with your type, the type of personality you are. It's not really about personality, but it's like your beingness, who you are, and work on that level to work with in a kind of be more relational. And so, I've also worked with setting up areas, putting energetic boundaries around certain areas where it's not okay to come in this area, kind of that. It's like, this is our area. This is our little human area. This is where we want to do our little picnics in the grass. And so setting up an energetic boundary. And then there's the sensible thing of, spray yourself every time you go out. Rose geranium. I've made some oil from rose geranium plant, and it works really, really well. I'm not into the chemical stuff like DEET and all that kind of stuff. I don't like that, but I do. So, especially spraying around your ankles, you all know all that. But so that's what I have to say about that one. Yes, I know it's an issue, and it's a problem, but it's not like it can't be worked with. But again, you need to be in consciousness about it. And the ticks are not the enemy. So.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue. So we are a little over time. So I wanted to give people the opportunity to say goodbye or stay on. Maybe we'll do one final question. One just popped up. Okay. And when you were talking about orbs in the photos, and spirits, how do you know which ones are like what kinds of spirits?
How do you know what? Say that again.
Like if you're seeing an orb or like the light in the photos, that like purple light photo is the one that's coming to mind for me. How do you know like what type of spirit or thing it is?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that I think the big ones with the patterns in the middle, I think that's the Deva presence of the area, or, of that area. The other smaller ones, there's all kinds of energy out there, and there's all kinds of spirits out there. There's all kinds of nature spirits out there. And I can't say what they each are. I would ask if you want to know, who are you? There's a few other people that might have more to say about orbs, but whenever I'm not sure about, because nature spirits are elusive. They don't always let you see them, with your eyeballs. You can sense them, and, there's all this darting in your peripheral vision right about here where you kind of stretch your eyeballs. There's all this darting motion that you can kind of sense, oh, they're there. And you go to look, and then you don't see them. But so photographs of these digital photography now is amazing, because you can actually see their light presence, and which nature spirits they are, who they are. I don't know. I would, if you're in an area and they're there, then ask who they are, because there's lots of different ones. There's fairies, and there's gnomes, and there's sylphs, and there's da-da-da, and there's no da-da-da. There's a big long list. I see Ziegala on the screen. She might even have an answer for that. Working with nature spirits a lot, and Dom and her.
So there's a lot of good questions, but I don't want to hold people captive, and I feel like we do need to move on. I'm so sorry for folks that we weren't able to answer all of your great questions. But this is also like a perfect transition in talking about the co-creative partnership course, because I feel like a lot of questions come up there, and a lot of the times the answer is ask.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to say, we're gonna transition now. Is that what we're doing, Frida?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to transition now. We're going to talk a little bit about the co-creative partnership online course that's coming up very soon. Some of you on this call took it last year. So thank you so much for showing up again. You guys just can't get enough, can you? That's awesome. I love you all so much for being so dedicated to nature in this way. So if you're like interested, then just put that in the chat. It's nice for us to see who's got real interest in being a part of that course. So just say so. So let's see. What do we want to have questions about that, or do we want to say what it's about?
I think maybe let's start out with why don't you start out with a brief overview about the program, why you created it, maybe what's the difference between last year's program and this year's program.
Good point.
For those folks that are like a little familiar with it. And
okay.
Yeah, we'll start there.
Okay. Okay. Well, the course is called Co-Creative Partnership with Nature. So it's kind of what we've been talking about today, only much more expanded, and we go into it deeper, and you have opportunities to do a lot of some of the things that we talked about today. We were just briefly talking about them today. You actually have the opportunity to do them. And we have a platform, a new platform, which is different from the one we had last year, called Mighty Networks. And the course is actually going to be in that platform this year, whereas last year it was in a different platform, but it's also a community platform as well. So it's kind of like a alternative Facebook. So the course will be there, and you will also be there. And it's a place where you can interact with each other and talk to each other. And it's also where you can ask questions, and I will answer those questions as best as I can. What's different this year from last year is this year, the course will be self-directed, meaning that you can go at your own pace. Last year, it was like each module was given to you in, every 4 weeks, you got another module. And you did this module this month, and then you did the next module this month, and then, and it went for 8 months, and that's the way it went. And then at the end, it was the end. And So that's going to be different this year so that you can move at your own pace. You can move as fast or as slow as you want. So all the material will be available to you in the beginning, and it won't be dribbled out to you. So you'll have that opportunity. We will do a couple live Q&As throughout the time. Basically, as far as Frida and I are concerned, our time with the course is from May 1st to the end of December. That's the amount of time we put our energy into the course and whatever needs to be done. If you feel like you need to go beyond December, that's fine. That's fine. But there won't be like live Q&As after that or anything like that. So let's see what else. Frida, you're going to be doing some what are they called? Meetups.
Yeah. So we'll do some live meetups for folks as you move through the course, if you want to get to know some of the other people in the network. Another thing I wanted to mention too is, which is a cool opportunity, especially this year, is to like start with the self-directed program. And then you didn't already say this, did you? I was responding to someone.
No, I didn't already say that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is a good point.
Yes, it's a good point. But then I was like, wait, maybe Pam said that and I didn't hear her when I was responding to this person. Okay, so the cool thing about this program this year is that you get the opportunity to do it in a self-directed way. And then if you find that you want to take the course again and have mentorship, you have the ability to upgrade next year just for the difference in price between the two programs. And then you can go through it again. And we wanted to offer that to folks because last year's cohort, there is a group of them that are going through the program again together, and they've kind of made their own little group of folks that are taking it together, and they're meeting up weekly, I think, or every 2 weeks. And so, yeah, it was really exciting. And we thought, oh, this is like an awesome opportunity for someone to like dip their feet and then get more support if they wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're going through it slower. They're just going to, so here's the difference between last year, they needed to finish a module. If they want to keep current, they needed to finish a module within a month. And this year they're going through it again, and they're going much slower so that they can really dive in deep. So, which I think is awesome. I'm just think it's so great that you guys have you guys have decided to do that, and it's just awesome. And so the other thing I want to mention is right now some of you have been signing up for the course already, and we're offering the early bird. The early bird cost is happening right now, and so that's cool. And so you're getting a discount because the official launch is not till May 1st, but once May 1st comes, the price will go up a bit. So just to say that. So if you want to get in on this course, now's a good time to do it. Save yourself a couple $100. So yeah, so that's kind of the course. If you have specific questions about it, you can ask.
Yeah. And we dropped the link into the chat. Ryan dropped it, but it's under Pam's name. Okay. I was like, how's Pam typing and talking at the same time? So yeah, so the link is in the chat to the website page if you want to check it out there. Pam, I'm wondering, was there something in like a student story or anything? Was there anything surprised you last time when you did the program?
Oh,
put you on the spot.
A lot that surprised me.
And perhaps there's a student who's here. If you felt so called to share some of your experience, you'd also be welcome to. You can message me, but no pressure.
Oh, Ziegler, you're on my screen. I can see you on my screen. Why don't you unmute and just share one of your gems?
Well, for me, thank you for inviting me to share. It's been a really wonderful course. And there have been many gems in the course. It's very rich with some of the subjects that Pam has spoken of today are more extendedly treated, and it's been very precious also to have so much information, to have new hints and tips how to get into nature and to discover new things, even though I have already been very active in my nature communication for quite some time, but it's been every time a gift to discover new ways and new doors opening inside of myself all of the time, and also many allies. I have gained many new allies in nature, like spirits that were showing up, of plants that we worked with in the course that were showing up in different circumstances. So also to get tools to do, to really have a contact with the spirit of the plants, and to integrate this in your daily work with the plants. And so it's very enriching, deepening. It's a big palette of many possibilities that you can choose from, and some you will be like super in love with, and others like, I don't know, I have to try it a couple of times more, it's like, but there's so much to offer that a lot of people were also overwhelmed by like, wow, there's so much. So it's good that you have also a little bit of more time, but also if you're eager, like I have been very eager in the course to learn everything, like, so it's also very nice to do it in the period from May till December, and consume and discover and explore everything which it has to offer. And it's, as also somebody said in the chat, it's life-changing in a way, because it's also very much on how to establish your own personal relationship with nature, and taking care of nature, and feeling how nature can take care more of yourself and increase your well-being and self-love and love for everything and everyone around you. So yeah, I can really recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you, Zigala. It's so nice to see you here.
There is another student who messaged me and would like to share.
Okay.
Julie, would you
Really?
unmute yourself?
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm great. I can't recommend the course highly enough. It was so beautiful. It's like tears come at the moments that we had during the course. Even though I have been training with Carl for the last 7 years, there was aspects of the course that on paper I would have thought that I've gone through a lot before, but it's like coming to everything that you've learned up until now. I felt it was like doing it completely fresh. It was as if I didn't know anything before, and it was almost like looking at and connecting through a different lens. And Pam, I just thought you brought us through such beautiful gateways, such beautiful deepening, and I really appreciate your teaching skills and how tangible it was and how uncomplicated it was. Some of what we do feel can be very complicated, but you deliver it in such a way that it's very natural and very soul-based. And I felt there was a real tangible, when somebody says life-changing, it is, because it brings us back to that soul connection and that deeper connection. And a lot of thoughts, or a lot of what we hear about our it's like saying bring yourself into gratitude. It's like that thought of bringing ourselves into gratitude, but really you have to feel gratitude. And it's the difference between logically and practically working on something and going through the heart space. And that's what I felt your gift was, in bringing us through that heart space in all the different segments that we did. And it just felt like we all went through beautiful gateways. So yes, it was completely life enriching, and I would recommend it to all.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. That was a beautiful description. Wow. Oh my goodness. And I just want you all know that, we do have Americans that did this course. We just heard from two Europeans, but we did have Americans too, and Canadians. but and we also had beginners, just to say.
And
These two,
Australians.
Julie and Ziegler are extremely experienced nature communicators and connectors. I mean, both of them have been doing this work for years, and I just feel incredibly in deep gratitude that this course was able to bring you something that was new, or you felt it was worth it enough to actually engage with this course, having been extremely experienced in this realm already. So for me, that's what that says to me, is that nature and the plants and the trees are stepping it up a few notches and saying, hey, we got more to offer. And I just am a little mouthpiece. I'm just like, that's been my job with the plants and the trees all along, is like, I'm their spokesperson. I just open my mouth and say what they want me to say. So I feel like hearing the two of you say that, it's like, okay, that's what's really happening here, is that, nature is stepping it up a few notches, and it's like, okay, it's time to get on with it here. And I'm just the spokesperson. So, but thank you. I appreciate your incredible testimonial.
Do folks have any other questions? I've been trying to keep on the chat here. But if I didn't get to your question, a question just pop up. It says 5 times a day with nature about quality time. I think this was about while you were talking.
5 times a day? Sure, if you can. I mean, I like sunrise and sunset. Those are 2 times of the day that they're just like, they're the bookends, and I happen to be an early riser, so I'm oftentimes up before the sun rises. And so it's just a great way to start the day, and it sets a really nice tone to really be conscious with the sunrise, and then the sunset. It's kind of like at the end of the day. Thank you very much for the beauty and the gift of the day. And so that's what I like. So is sunrise and sunset. If you can throw in 3 more times during the day, great.
Awesome. There's a question about the course. Does it get into specific plants and their uses and properties? I mean,
yeah,
like a little bit.
We have each module. There's 8 modules, and each module has one main plant or tree that we talk about. So we engage with that tree. But yeah, we talk about its story, which includes how it's used medicinally or edibly, or it includes that, but it's more than that as well. So yes, but this is not, just to say, this is not an herb course. It's not an herb course. It has plants and herbs and trees in it, but I wouldn't call it an herb course, even though
what would you call
plants are a part of nature. So of course you're going to engage with them. Of course you are. And you can't not do that if you're going to be with me, because I'm a plant person, but I wouldn't call it an herb course. This is not a take this for that course.
What would you call it then?
A co-creative partnership with nature course.
Great. I think that's all the questions, unless I missed it. People are saying thank you. Thank you so much. I'll speak for the group as the messages start coming in. Thank you so much, Pam, for taking the time this.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's always fun. Great to see everybody. Really good to see everybody.
And
Really good to see you, Pam.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of love.
So much love to all of you too.
awesome. Okay, great. We'll send out the recording as soon as we can, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Okay. Bye for now.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.